Have you ever been in an English conversation and felt like people are speaking in some kind of secret code? You understand every single word they are saying, but somehow you just cannot figure out what they actually mean. You listen carefully, you nod your head, you smile, but deep down, you are completely lost. If this has ever happened to you, do not worry at all, because you are definitely not alone. This happens every single day to thousands of English learners all around the world. The problem is not your vocabulary. The problem is not your grammar. The problem is that native English speakers rarely say exactly what they mean. We use something called soft language. We wrap our opinions in little cushions of polite words so that we do not sound too harsh, too aggressive, or too direct. And if you do not know how to recognize these soft phrases, you will miss the real message completely. Welcome to English in Fluency. I am your host, Alex, and I am so incredibly happy to see you here today. If you want to understand real English conversations, if you want to catch the hidden meanings behind polite words, and if you want to finally feel confident when people share their opinions with you, then you are in the exact right place. Before we dive into today's lesson, I want to ask you a quick favor. If you enjoy this practice session, please take 1 second to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. It helps our channel grow so much, and it means you will never miss a single lesson from us here at English in Fluency. Now, grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let us start training your ears to hear the real meaning behind the words. To understand soft language, we first need to talk about why people use it in the first place. Imagine you are looking at a painting with a friend. The painting is, in your opinion, very ugly. It is just terrible. If you say, "This painting is ugly," that is very direct. In some cultures that is perfectly fine. But in English-speaking cultures, saying something so direct can make you sound rude, aggressive, or unkind. Even if you are just stating a fact, people might feel uncomfortable. So, instead of saying it is ugly, we change the words. We soften the blow. We wrap our opinion in soft, fluffy language. We might say, "It is not really my favorite," or "It is a bit different from what I usually like." When you hear those soft phrases, your brain needs to translate them. You need to hear "not really my favorite" and understand that the person actually means they do not like it at all. This is the secret to understanding opinions in English. People are hiding their true feelings inside polite phrases, and today, I am going to teach you exactly how to unpack them. We are going to follow several different people through their daily lives. We will listen to their conversations, and I will stop and explain every single soft phrase they use. By the end of this practice, your ears will be completely tuned in to this secret code. I want you to imagine a quiet morning in a small coffee shop. The smell of fresh coffee is in the air, and there are not many people waiting in line. A man named Julian walks up to the counter. He looks at the menu for a moment and then smiles at the barista, a woman named Maya. Julian says hello to Maya and tells her he would love to order a large hot chocolate. Now, here is where the conversation gets interesting. Maya looks at the machine behind her, then looks back at Julian, and she says, "We are actually out of hot chocolate today, but I could make you a really nice milk steamer with some vanilla, if that works for you." I want you to think about what Maya just said. A beginner English learner might think Maya is offering two equal choices. But she is not. She is saying no. she does not have hot chocolate. But instead of just saying no, we do not have that. She uses soft language to make the rejection feel gentler. First, she uses the word actually. We are actually out. Saying actually does not change the fact, but it makes the sentence sound a little softer, a little more conversational. Then, she offers an alternative, but listen to how she offers it. She says, I could make you. She does not say, I will make you. Saying I could implies a suggestion rather than a command. It leaves room for Julian to say no. Finally, she adds the softest part of the whole sentence. She says, if that works for you. This is the ultimate soft language phrase in English. When someone says, if that works for you, or if that is okay with you, they are giving you the power. They are making sure you do not feel forced. Julian replies by saying, oh, sure, that sounds fine. And Maya makes the drink. Now, let us pause right here for a moment. I want you to practice this feeling. When you hear someone say, if that works for you, I want your brain to immediately realize that this person is trying to be very polite. They are trying to respect your choices. It is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of good manners. If you are in a situation where someone offers you an alternative with this phrase, you can simply say, yes, that works perfectly. Or if you do not want it, you can say, no, thank you. I will just have water. The soft language gives you the space to choose comfortably. Keep this in your mind as we move to our next story. Our next story takes us out of the coffee shop and into a modern office building. It is a Tuesday morning, and 3 colleagues are sitting in a meeting room. Their names are Chloe, Sam, and David. They are trying to figure out how to organize a big company party. Chloe has an idea. She leans forward and says, I think we should just rent a big hall and invite everyone from the office, plus their families, and maybe hire a live band. Now, imagine you are Sam. You listen to Chloe's idea, and you think it is a terrible idea. You think it will cost way too much money, and it will be too crowded. If you say, that is a terrible idea, you will make Chloe feel bad, and the meeting will become awkward. So, Sam uses soft language. Sam looks at Chloe, nods his head slowly, and says, I see your point, and it sounds like a really fun event. But I am just a little bit worried that it might go over our budget. Do you hear the magic in Sam's sentence? He starts with, I see your point. This is a classic polite phrase. Even if you completely disagree with the person, saying, I see your point, shows that you listen to them. It shows respect. Then he gives a tiny compliment. He says, it sounds like a really fun event. This makes Chloe feel good before he delivers his disagreement. Then comes the soft disagreement. He does not say, your idea is too expensive. He says, I am just a little bit worried that it might go over our budget. Let us break this down. He says, I am worried. He is talking about his own feelings, not attacking Chloe's idea. He says a little bit. This phrase makes the worry seem small. He is not panicking. He is just slightly concerned. And he says, it might go over our budget. The word might is a huge softening word. It means maybe. He is not saying it will definitely be too expensive. He is just saying it is a possibility. David, the third person in the room, agrees with Sam. David says, yes, I tend to agree with Sam. It could end up being quite expensive, and perhaps we could look into something a bit smaller, like a nice dinner downtown. David uses the phrase, I tend to agree. This means, in general, I agree with this opinion. It is much softer than saying, I agree completely. Then he uses the word perhaps. Perhaps means maybe. Perhaps we could look into something. He is not giving a direct order. He is making a gentle suggestion. And he says a bit smaller. A bit is another fantastic softening word. It just means a little. So, David is suggesting a smaller party, but he makes it sound so gentle and polite that nobody feels offended. If you want to speak fluent English, you must learn to use phrases like, "I see your point," "I am a little bit worried," and "perhaps we could." These phrases will save you in so many social situations. They allow you to disagree with people without making them angry. When you are listening to English, when you hear these phrases, your brain should tell you, okay, this person is disagreeing, but they are trying to be nice about it. Now we are going to leave the office and travel to a cozy living room. It is Friday evening. The sun is going down, and two friends are sitting on a comfortable sofa. Their names are Liam and Olivia. They are trying to decide what movie to watch. Liam picks up the remote control and says, "How about we watch that new science fiction movie?" "I heard it is really exciting." Olivia does not want to watch a science fiction movie. She thinks they are boring, but she does not want to hurt Liam's feelings. So she scrunches her nose a little and says, I am not really a huge fan of science fiction, to be honest. What do you think about that new comedy movie that just came out?" Let us look closely at Olivia's response. She starts with This little sound is actually a part of soft language. It shows hesitation. It tells the listener, "I am about to say something you might not like. Please do not be mad." Then she says, "I am not really a huge fan." This is a very common way to express a negative opinion in English. If you hate something, you do not say "I hate it." You say "I am not a big fan," or "I am not really a huge fan." Adding the word really makes it even softer. She could have just said, "I am not a fan," but adding really stretches the sentence out and makes it feel more casual and gentle. Then she adds, "To be honest." This phrase is very interesting. Sometimes people use "to be honest" to deliver a strong truth, but in soft language, it is often used just to fill space and make the negative opinion seem more personal. She is basically saying, "This is just my personal feeling." Finally, she offers an alternative, but notice how she asks for his opinion. She says, "What do you think about that new comedy movie?" She does not say, "We are watching the comedy movie." She includes Liam in the decision. Liam smiles and says, "Yeah, the comedy is fine, I guess." Now, listen to Liam. He says the comedy is fine. When someone says something is fine, it usually means they do not love it, but they do not hate it either. It is a very neutral word. But then he adds, "I guess." This is a brilliant little piece of soft language. Adding "I guess" to the end of a sentence shows that you are not completely sure, or that you are slightly reluctant. Liam wanted the science fiction movie, but he is agreeing to the comedy to make Olivia happy. By saying "I guess," he is subtly communicating that it is not his first choice, but he is willing to do it. Understanding these tiny phrases like "I guess" or "it is fine" is so important for your listening skills. If you do not know them, you might think Liam is really excited about the comedy. But he is not. He is just being polite. When you are talking to people, you can use these tools too. If someone suggests a restaurant you do not like, just say, "I am not really a big fan of that place, to be honest." It works like a charm every single time. You sound polite, you sound friendly, and nobody gets upset. Let us continue our journey through the day. because we still have a lot of soft language to uncover. Imagine now that it is the next day, a sunny Saturday afternoon. Two more friends, Noah and Emma, are walking through a large park. They are talking about another friend named Ryan. Ryan recently started learning to play the guitar, and he played a song for Noah and Emma last week. He was not very good. In fact, he was quite bad. Noah turns to Emma and asks, "So, what did you think of Ryan's guitar playing?" Emma wants to be honest, but she also wants to be kind. She looks at the trees and says, "Well, he has definitely improved since he started, which is great. But I feel like he still has a long way to go before he sounds really professional." Let us unpack Emma's opinion. She starts with well, just like Well is a hesitation word. It gives her a second to think of a polite way to express her thoughts. Then she finds a positive thing to say first. She says, "He has definitely improved." This is called a compliment sandwich. You say something nice, then you say the negative thing, then you say something nice again. Emma says he has improved, which is great. Now comes the soft negative. She says, "But I feel like." I feel like is an incredible phrase for softening opinions. If you say, "He is a bad guitar player," that is a harsh fact. But if you say, "I feel like he still has a long way to go," you are turning it into your personal emotion. It is just your feeling. Nobody can argue with your feelings. She finishes by saying, before he sounds really professional, she is setting a very high standard. Professional is the goal, and by saying he has a long way to go to reach that goal, she is gently saying he is not good yet, without ever using the word bad. Noah laughs a little and says, "Yeah, I kind of agree. It was a bit hard to listen to at times, but you can tell he is trying his best." Noah uses the phrase "I kind of agree." The words "kind of" are used millions of times a day in spoken English to soften statements. It means partly. He is partly agreeing with Emma. Then he says, "It was a bit hard to listen to." A bit means a little. So he is saying it was slightly terrible. And then he rescues the sentence with a positive comment, "But you can tell he is trying his best." This is a perfect example of how native speakers dance around negative opinions. They use words like kind of, a bit, I feel like, and well, to make sure their words never hurt anyone. If you are practicing your English listening, you have to train your ears to hear kind of and immediately know that the speaker is holding back their full, true opinion. Let us take all of these examples and think about how they sound in real life. When you are watching a movie or listening to a podcast in English, the characters are not going to stop and explain their soft language to you. You have to catch it in the blink of an eye. Let us do a quick mental exercise together to build your speed. I am going to give you a direct, blunt sentence, and I want you to think about how a polite English speaker would soften it. Are you ready? Here is the first one. The direct sentence is, "Your idea is wrong." That is very harsh. If you are in a meeting and your colleague says, "Your idea is wrong," you will feel terrible. So, how do we soften it? We could say, "I see what you are saying, but I am not sure that is exactly right." Or we could say, "That is an interesting perspective, but I wonder if there is another way to look at it." Do you hear the difference? The meaning is exactly the same. The person still thinks you are wrong, but the soft version protects your feelings. Here is another one. The direct sentence is, "I do not like this food." If you are eating dinner at someone's house and you say, "I do not like this food," the host will be very upset. So, We soften it. We say, I am not really used to this flavor, but thank you for cooking. Or we say, it is a bit different from what I usually eat, but I appreciate the effort. Again, the meaning is that you do not like it, but the soft language makes it socially acceptable. And one more. The direct sentence is, I cannot help you right now. If a coworker asks for help and you say that, you sound angry. But if you say, I would love to help, but I am a bit swamped at the moment, maybe we could look at it tomorrow. You sound helpful, even though you are still saying no. These examples show you the true power of soft language. It is a social tool. It is a way to navigate the world without making enemies. As a listener, when you hear phrases like, I am not really used to, or I am a bit swamped, or I wonder if, your brain should instantly recognize that the speaker is hiding a direct statement inside a polite package. This recognition is what will take your English listening skills from an intermediate level to an advanced, fluent level. We are going to move on to a slightly different situation now. Soft language is not just for disagreeing with friends or talking about bad guitar players. It is also used when we have to say no to an invitation. Saying no is one of the hardest things to do in any language, but in English, we have a very specific, polite formula for it. Let me set the scene for you. A woman named Sophia is sitting at her desk at work, checking her emails. Her phone buzzes. It is a text message from a coworker named Ethan. Ethan is having a birthday party at his house next Saturday night, and he wants to know if Sophia can come. Sophia does not want to go. She is very tired. She has been working hard, and she just wants to stay home and sleep. But she cannot text back and say, No, I do not want to come to your party. That would be incredibly rude. Instead, she types a very polite message using soft language. She writes, Hi, Ethan. Thank you so much for inviting me. It sounds like a wonderful party. I am afraid I will not be able to make it this time, though. I have had a really busy week, and I am just feeling a bit exhausted. So I think I am going to have a quiet weekend at home. Have a great time. Let us look at this message closely, because it is a masterpiece of polite English. First, she starts with gratitude. Thank you so much for inviting me. This shows appreciation. Then she validates his event. It sounds like a wonderful party. Now comes the soft no. She writes, I am afraid I will not be able to make it. The phrase I am afraid is the key here. In this context, I am afraid does not mean she is scared. It is a formal, polite way of saying, I am sorry to tell you this. It softens the bad news. And instead of saying, I am not coming, she says, I will not be able to make it. Make it is a phrasal verb that means to attend an event. It sounds much more casual and gentle than saying, I will not attend. Then she gives a reason. But look at how soft the reason is. She says she has had a busy week, and she is a bit exhausted. She uses the word a bit to make her exhaustion seem less dramatic. She finishes by saying she thinks she is going to have a quiet weekend. Using, I think, makes it sound like a gentle plan, not a harsh rule. And she ends with a warm wish. Have a great time. When you are listening to someone decline an invitation in English, you will hear these exact patterns almost every single time. You will hear I am afraid, or I do not think I will be able to make it, or I am a bit tied up. Tied up is an idiom that means busy. If someone says they are a bit tied up, they are politely saying they cannot come. It is so important to recognize these phrases so that you do not push people to come to your events when they have already politely said no. If they say, "I am afraid I cannot make it," the conversation is over. You should just say, "Oh, I understand. No problem at all." I want to share one more story with you, because this is a situation that happens to English learners all the time, and it causes so much confusion. Imagine a man named Marcus who recently moved to a new city. He is at a party, and he meets a woman named Isabella. They are having a great conversation. Marcus thinks Isabella is very nice, and he wants to keep in touch with her. So, he says, we should get a coffee sometime. Now, in many cultures, this means let us make a plan right now. Let us take out our phones and choose a day. But in English, especially in places like America or England, the phrase "we should do something sometime" is very often just a polite way to end a conversation. It does not always mean they actually want to meet. It is soft language for goodbye. Isabella smiles and says, "Yeah, that would be great. Let me know when you are free." Marcus thinks this is a real plan. He waits a few days, and then he texts Isabella. He says, "Hey, do you want to get that coffee this Thursday?" Isabella is surprised. She was just being polite at the party. She does not really have time for coffee. So, she uses soft language to say no. She texts back, "Hi, Marcus. It is so good to hear from you. To be honest, my schedule is completely crazy right now, but let us definitely try to catch up sometime in the future." Let us analyze Isabella's text. She starts with a friendly greeting. Then she says, "To be honest, my schedule is completely crazy right now." This is the polite excuse. Crazy schedule means I am too busy. But then she adds the ultimate soft escape clause. She says, "But let us definitely try to catch up sometime in the future." The words "sometime in the future" mean never. It is an open-ended promise that has no date attached to it. She used the word "definitely" to make it sound strong. But because there is no actual plan, it is just a soft way to close the door on the conversation. Poor Marcus feels confused. He might think she really wants to meet in the future. But, as a fluent English listener, you need to understand that if someone does not offer a specific day or time to meet, they are usually just being polite. If Isabella actually wanted to get coffee, she would have said, "I am busy Thursday, but how about next Tuesday?" When you are listening to native speakers, pay very close attention to specificity. Specific plans are real. Vague plans using words like sometime, soon, or in the future are usually just soft language. This is not a mean thing to do. It is just a cultural habit to avoid direct confrontation. Once you understand this, you will save yourself so much worry and overthinking. You will hear, "Let us do it sometime," and you will simply smile and know that it means have a nice life. It is a beautiful, gentle way that English speakers protect each other's feelings. Now we are going to go even deeper. We are going to look at some very specific situations where soft language is absolutely necessary. If you do not understand these specific phrases, you might think people are happy with you when they are actually annoyed, or you might think someone is being mean when they are actually trying to be very kind. Let us start with a situation that makes almost every English learner nervous. Ordering food at a restaurant when something is wrong. Imagine a woman named Grace. She is sitting at a nice restaurant. She ordered a bowl of hot soup. The waiter, a young man named Thomas, brings the soup to her table. Grace takes one spoonful, and she realizes the soup is completely cold. It is not even a little bit warm. Now, if Grace is very direct, she will say, "This soup is cold. Take it back." But in an English-speaking culture, that sounds very aggressive. The waiter might feel embarrassed, and the whole mood of the dinner will be ruined. So, Grace uses soft language. She catches Thomas's attention and says, "Excuse me, Thomas. I am so sorry to bother you, but I think this soup might be just a tiny bit cold. Do you think I could possibly get it warmed up?" I want you to close your eyes and listen to the musicality of that sentence. First, she apologizes. "I am so sorry to bother you." She is apologizing for asking for what she paid for. This is a classic English soft language move. We apologize for things that are not our fault just to keep the peace. Then she uses the word think. "I think this soup might be." She is not stating a fact. She is offering a suggestion. She is giving the waiter a way to save face. Then she minimizes the problem. She does not say the soup is freezing. She says it might be just a tiny bit cold. A tiny bit is an extreme exaggeration to make the problem seem incredibly small. Finally, she asks for the solution as a huge favor. "Do you think I could possibly get it warmed up?" She uses the word possibly. This makes the request feel like it is a difficult thing to do, even though warming up soup is very easy. Thomas smiles and says, "Oh, I am so sorry about that. Let me take that right to the kitchen for you." He is not angry at all. In fact, he appreciates that Grace was so polite. When you are listening to English, if you hear someone apologize before they make a request, or if they use words like might be, a tiny bit, or possibly, your brain should tell you that this person has a real problem, but they are trying very hard not to be rude about it. If you are the one who needs to complain, try copying Grace. Say, "Excuse me, I am so sorry to bother you, but I think this might be a little bit wrong." It works like magic every single time. Let us move to another stressful environment, the workplace. But this time, we are not in a meeting. We are looking at a situation where an employee has to say no to their boss. Saying no to a boss is terrifying for most people, but soft language makes it possible. Imagine a man named Kevin. He is sitting at his desk, working very hard. His manager, a woman named Rachel, walks up to his desk. Rachel says, "Hey Kevin, I know you are busy, but I was wondering if you could possibly take on this new marketing project. I would really appreciate it." Listen to how Rachel asks. She acknowledges his work first. "I know you are busy." Then she uses a beautiful soft phrase. "I was wondering if you could." "I was wondering" is a fantastic way to make a request sound less like a command. It shows that she has been thinking about it and she cares about his time. She adds possibly, which again makes it sound like a gentle suggestion. Kevin looks at his computer. He has so much work to do. If he says yes, he will have to stay up until midnight. But he cannot say, "No, I am too busy. I cannot do it." So, Kevin takes a deep breath and uses his soft language skills. He says, "I would really love to help you out with that, Rachel, because it sounds like a great project. But I am a little bit concerned about my current deadlines. My plate is pretty full at the moment, so I do not want to promise anything I cannot deliver." Do you see what Kevin did there? It is a masterpiece of workplace communication. He starts with a positive desire. "I would really love to help you out." This shows the boss that he is a good employee who wants to work. He gives a tiny compliment. It sounds like a great project. Then comes the soft no. He does not say, "I cannot do it." He says, "I am a little bit concerned about my current deadlines." He is talking about his feelings again. He is concerned. He uses a little bit to make the concern seem small and manageable. Then he uses a very common idiom. He says, "My plate is pretty full." In English, your plate represents your workload. If your plate is full, you are very busy. Adding pretty makes it softer than saying completely full. And he finishes with a strong, logical reason. I do not want to promise anything I cannot deliver. This makes him sound responsible, not lazy. Rachel nods and says, I completely understand, Kevin. Do not worry about it. I will ask someone else. When you are listening to English in a professional setting, you will hear the phrase, my plate is full, or I have a lot on my plate, very often. People use it to say they are busy without sounding like they are complaining. If your colleague says their plate is full, that is your cue to stop asking them to do things. Let us change the scenery completely now. We are going to go to a quiet apartment. It is evening time. 2 roommates are sitting in the living room. One roommate is a woman named Diana, and the other is a man named Paul. Diana is very stressed. She is pacing back and forth, talking about a big argument she had with her sister. She is saying, I just cannot believe she said that to me. She is always so rude to me, and I am so tired of it. Paul is listening, but honestly, he thinks Diana is overreacting. He thinks Diana was actually the one who was rude in the argument. But telling someone they are wrong when they are angry is a terrible idea. It will just make them more angry. So, Paul has to share his opinion using the softest language possible. Paul waits for Diana to finish talking, and then he says very slowly, I can totally see why you are so upset. It sounds like a really difficult situation. I was just thinking, though, maybe if we look at it from her side, perhaps she felt a little bit hurt by that comment you made about her job? Just a thought. Let us break down Paul's incredible soft language skills. First, he validates her emotions. I can totally see why you are so upset. This is crucial. If you disagree with an angry person, you must first tell them that their feelings make sense. Then he introduces his different opinion with the phrase, I was just thinking, though. The word just makes it sound like a small, harmless thought that just happened to pop into his head. Then he uses maybe. Maybe if we look at it from her side, he is not saying Diana is wrong. He is suggesting a different angle. He adds perhaps she felt a little bit hurt. He uses perhaps instead of maybe just to vary his vocabulary. And he uses a little bit hurt to minimize the sister's feelings so Diana does not feel attacked. And then he finishes with the ultimate softening phrase, just a thought. This tiny phrase at the end of a sentence is like a magic shield. It means, I am sharing my opinion, but if you do not like it, you can just ignore it. It takes all the pressure off the listener. When you hear someone say, just a thought, or just an idea, at the end of a sentence, you should know that they are testing the waters. They are sharing an opinion they know might be unpopular, and they are giving you an easy way to reject it without arguing. Diana listens to Paul and takes a deep breath. She says, yeah, I suppose you might be right about that. I guess I was pretty harsh. Diana uses the phrase, I suppose you might be right. This is a very soft way of admitting you are wrong. She does not say, you are completely right. I was terrible. She says she supposes he might be right. There is still a tiny bit of hesitation there, which protects her ego. I want to talk about one more very common situation where soft language is absolutely everywhere. That situation is giving advice. Have you ever noticed that when you have a problem and you ask a friend for advice, they rarely tell you exactly what to do? They usually wrap their advice in soft language. Let me give you an example. Imagine two friends, a man named Arthur and a woman named Hazel. They are having coffee. Arthur says, "I really hate my job. I want to quit and start my own business, but I am scared." Hazel thinks Arthur should definitely quit his job because he is miserable. But she does not say, "You need to quit your job right now. That sounds too bossy." Instead, Hazel says, "Wow, that sounds like a really tough spot to be in. If it were me, I would probably start looking for something else." Have you thought about maybe taking a small business class on the weekends just to see if you like it? Let us look at how Hazel gives advice. She starts with empathy. That sounds like a really tough spot. Then she shares her own hypothetical experience. "If it were me, I would probably." By saying, "if it were me," she is taking the pressure off Arthur. She is not saying he must do it. She is just saying what she would do in a perfect world. Then she asks a question instead of making a statement. Have you thought about maybe taking a class? This is the gold standard of polite advice in English. Instead of saying, "You should take a class," you turn it into a question. Have you thought about? It is so gentle. It asks the person to explore an idea without forcing the idea on them. And, of course, she adds the word maybe. Maybe taking a class. Arthur responds by saying, "You know, I have not actually thought about that. That is not a bad idea." Arthur uses the phrase "that is not a bad idea." In English, we often use negative phrases to express positive feelings. We say "not bad" instead of "good." It sounds more casual and less enthusiastic, which fits the serious tone of the conversation. If Arthur said, "That is a fantastic idea," it might sound a little too excited for a conversation about quitting a job. So, "not a bad idea" is the perfect level of polite appreciation. When you are practicing your English listening, pay attention to how people give you advice. If they say, "You should do this," they are being very direct. But if they say, "Have you considered," or "Have you thought about," or "I was wondering if you might want to," they are using soft language to respect your freedom to make your own choices. Let us take a moment to do a quick listening check to make sure you are following along with me perfectly. I am going to describe a short situation, and I want you to think about what the soft language really means in your head. Ready? Imagine a friend tells you that they cannot come to your birthday party because they are feeling a little under the weather. What does feeling a little under the weather mean? If you are new to English, you might think they are standing outside in the rain and they are cold. But feeling under the weather is a soft idiom. It means, "I am sick." But by saying "a little under the weather," the person is making the sickness sound very mild. They are saying, "I am sick, but I am not dying. Please do not worry about me too much." Here is another one. A coworker says to you, "I kind of feel like maybe we should delay the project." What does this mean in real English? It means, "We must delay the project. I am sure of it." But the speaker uses kind of "feel like," and maybe to remove all the aggression from the statement. They are softening a strong command into a gentle whisper. And one more. Your friend looks at your new shirt and says, "Oh, that is an interesting color." When someone calls something interesting in English, and they pause for a second, it is almost always a soft way of saying, "I do not like it, but I am too polite to say ugly." Interesting is a safe word that means nothing, but it prevents an argument. Are you seeing the pattern? The words themselves are not important. The soft cushions around the words are where the true meaning lives. If you can train your brain to ignore the cushions and find the solid truth inside, you will become an incredible English listener. I want to tell you another story, because it involves a very advanced form of soft language that you will hear in movies and television shows all the time. Imagine an older man named Walter and his adult nephew, a young man named Ben. Walter is a very traditional person. Ben has just told Walter that he is going to move to another country to study art. Walter hates this idea. He thinks Ben should stay home, get a normal job, and save his money. But Walter knows that if he yells at Ben, Ben will just leave and never speak to him again. So, Walter uses a very special type of soft language. Walter looks at Ben, sighs softly, and says, "I am not entirely sure that is the safest path to take, Ben. It just seems to me like you might be taking a pretty big risk. But of course, it is your life, and you have to do what makes you happy." Let us pull this sentence apart, because it is pure genius. Walter starts with, "I am not entirely sure." This is a very polite way of saying I completely disagree. By saying not entirely sure, he is leaving a tiny 1% chance that he is wrong, which makes the sentence sound thoughtful instead of angry. Then he says, "It just seems to me like." The phrase, "it seems to me," is a wonderful way to state an opinion, as if it is just an optical illusion. He is saying, my eyes see a risk, maybe your eyes see something different. Then he says, you might be taking a pretty big risk. The word might softens the fact that it is a risk, and pretty big softens the word huge. Then comes the ultimate soft language escape hatch. He says, but of course, it is your life. This is a conversation ender. When an English speaker says, it is your life, or it is up to you, or you do you, they are washing their hands of the situation. It means, I think you are making a mistake, but I am not going to fight with you about it anymore. You are an adult, and if you mess up, it is your fault. Ben smiles and says, I hear where you are coming from, Walter, but I really want to try. Ben uses the phrase, I hear where you are coming from. This is a brilliant response. It does not mean I agree with you. It means I understand the logic behind your opinion. It shows respect to the older man, without backing down from his own decision. This entire conversation is a beautiful dance of politeness. Neither person said what they actually meant in a direct way, but they both understood each other perfectly. Let us go to a clothing store. It is a busy Saturday afternoon. Two friends, Victor and Fiona, are shopping for a jacket. Victor pulls a bright yellow jacket off the rack, puts it on, and looks in the mirror. He thinks he looks amazing. Fiona, however, thinks the jacket is terrible. She thinks it makes him look like a giant lemon. But she is his friend, and she does not want to hurt his feelings. So, she searches for a soft way to tell him. She tilts her head, looks at the jacket, and says, Oh, wow, that is definitely a very bold color. It is not quite what I would usually pick for you, but how do you feel when you wear it? Let us stop and listen to the magic in Fiona's voice. First, she calls the jacket a very bold color. Bold is a polite word for loud or ugly. It sounds like a compliment, but it is actually a gentle warning. Then she delivers her true opinion. She says, It is not quite what I would usually pick for you. The phrase, not quite, is a fantastic softening tool. It means no, but it sounds much gentler. She does not say, "I hate it." She says it is not quite her style. And then, most importantly, she turns the decision back over to Victor. She asks, "How do you feel when you wear it?" This takes the pressure off her. She does not have to be the bad guy who tells him not to buy it. If he loves it, he can still buy it. Victor looks in the mirror again and says, "Yeah, you are right. It is a bit much, is not it?" Victor uses the phrase "a bit much." This means it is too extreme, too loud, or too crazy. By saying it is a bit much, he is agreeing with Fiona's soft opinion without having to admit that he looks silly. If you are ever shopping with an English speaker and they say something is not quite you or it is a bit much, they are politely telling you to put it back on the rack and keep looking. Now let us move away from the store and imagine a much more common daily situation. We are going to look at how people use soft language to cancel plans at the very last minute. Canceling plans is a horrible feeling, but sometimes you are just too tired to go out. Imagine a woman named Natalie. Earlier in the week, she agreed to go on a long hike on Saturday morning with her friend Owen. But now it is Friday night, and Natalie is lying on her sofa. She is exhausted. She just wants to sleep. She knows Owen will be disappointed, so she picks up her phone to send a text message. She writes, "Hey Owen, I am really sorry to do this, but I am feeling a little bit under the weather today, and I think I might just need to stay in bed tomorrow. Is there any chance we could take a rain check on the hike?" Let us look at how Natalie built this message to protect Owen's feelings. She starts with a strong apology. "I am really sorry to do this." This shows she cares that she is changing the plan. Then she gives her soft reason. She says she is feeling a little bit under the weather. We talked about this idiom earlier. It is the most common soft way to say you are sick or tired without giving gross details. Then she says she thinks she might just need to stay in bed. The words "thinks" and might make it sound like her body is making the decision, not her mind. She is not choosing to cancel. Her body is forcing her to cancel. And then she uses the most brilliant soft phrase of all. She asks if they could take a rain check. A rain check is a very common English idiom. It comes from baseball. If it rained during a baseball game, they would give you a ticket to come back another day. That ticket was called a rain check. In normal conversation, taking a rain check means "let us do this another time." It is the softest way to cancel a plan because it promises that you still want to see the person, just not today. Owen texts back and says, "No worries at all, Natalie. Rest up. We can do it another time." When someone says "no worries at all," it is their way of saying, "I accept your soft apology, and I am not angry." If you want to sound like a native speaker, you must learn to use "take a rain check." It will save you from so many awkward conversations. Let us go to one more situation that happens all the time. Asking for a favor when you know the other person does not really want to do it. Imagine a man named Simon. Simon needs to drive to the airport, but his car is broken. He goes to his neighbor, a woman named Teresa, and asks if he can borrow her car for the afternoon. Teresa does not want to lend her car to anyone. She is very protective of it, but she cannot say, "No, you cannot borrow my car," because that makes her sound mean and unhelpful. She has to say no using the softest language she can find. Teresa gives Simon a small, uncomfortable smile and says, "Oh, Simon, I would really love to help you out, because I know how stressful it is when your car breaks down. But, to be totally honest, I am actually a little bit superstitious about lending my car to anyone. I hope you understand. This is an advanced level soft rejection. Teresa starts by validating his problem. She says she knows it is stressful. This shows empathy. Then she uses the ultimate softening bridge. She says, I would really love to help you out. She is stating a false desire. Of course, she does not want to help him out, but saying I would love to makes the no that follows feel much less painful. Then she gives her reason, and it is a very clever reason. She says she is a little bit superstitious about lending her car. Superstitious means believing in luck or magical rules. By blaming it on a superstition, she makes it sound like a personal quirk, not a direct rejection of Simon. She is saying, it is not you, it is my strange personal rule. And she finishes with, I hope you understand. This phrase gently forces Simon to say, yes, I understand, which closes the conversation politely. Simon nods and says, yeah, of course, Teresa. No problem at all. I will just get a taxi. When you are listening to English, if someone says, I would love to help, but you should immediately prepare yourself for a no. The but always cancels the I would love to. It is a classic polite formula. I want to leave you with one last short conversation that happens in schools and universities every single day. Imagine a student named Greg and his teacher, a woman named Helen. Greg hands Helen a paper that he wrote. Helen reads the first page and realizes that Greg did not follow the instructions at all. The paper is completely off topic, but a good teacher will never say, you did this completely wrong. That would destroy a student's confidence. Instead, Helen points to the instructions and says, Greg, you have a really wonderful writing style here, and your grammar is excellent. I am just wondering if we might be able to look at the instructions again. It seems like this paper is maybe going in a slightly different direction than what I asked for. Do you think you could try aligning it a bit more closely with the prompt? Let us appreciate how kind Helen is being here. She uses a compliment sandwich. She praises his style and grammar first. Then she uses, I am just wondering if we might be able to. This turns a command into a collaborative question. She makes fixing the mistake sound like a fun puzzle they can solve together. She says the paper is maybe going in a slightly different direction. Slightly different direction is a soft way of saying completely wrong. She asks if he could try aligning it a bit more closely. Aligning it a bit more closely means fix it, so it matches the instructions. Every single step of her sentence is designed to protect Greg's feelings while still telling him that he needs to rewrite the paper. Greg says, oh, I see. I guess I misunderstood the prompt. I will fix it tonight. He uses, I guess I misunderstood. This is a soft way for him to take the blame without feeling stupid. If you are studying in an English-speaking country, you will hear teachers use this exact soft language with you every day. They want you to succeed, but they have to correct your mistakes. Listening for phrases like, I am just wondering, or slightly different direction, will help you understand that your teacher is correcting you, even if their voice sounds very sweet and happy. We have finally reached the end of our journey together. We have walked through coffee shops, offices, living rooms, parks, restaurants, clothing stores, and classrooms. We have met so many different people. and we have listened to them hide their true feelings inside soft, polite English phrases. I hope you realize now that understanding English is not about translating word for word. It is about understanding the social situation. It is about asking yourself, why is this person using a soft phrase right now? Are they trying to be kind? Are they trying to avoid a fight? Are they saying no without hurting my feelings? Once you start asking yourself these questions when you listen to English, a whole new world will open up for you. You will stop feeling confused when people do not say exactly what they mean. You will start enjoying the dance of polite conversation. You will hear someone say, "I am not really sure," and you will smile to yourself because you will know exactly what they actually mean. This is the secret to true listening fluency. It takes time, it takes patience, and it takes a lot of practice. But you have already done the hardest part by showing up and listening to this entire lesson. I am Alex, and this has been English in Fluency. I want to say a massive thank you for spending all this time with me today. If you found value in this lesson, if your ears feel a little bit sharper right now, please take 1 second to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. It is the absolute best way to support this channel and make sure you never miss a single listening practice session. I also want to ask you to leave a comment down below. For your homework today, I want you to write a soft sentence. Think of a direct, harsh sentence, like "your cooking is bad," or "I cannot come to your party," and rewrite it using the soft language we learned today. Share it in the comments so I can read it and see how amazing you are doing. You can also share this video with your friends who are learning English. Practicing together makes it so much more fun. Remember to keep listening to real English every single day. Watch movies, listen to podcasts, talk to strangers, and pay attention to the soft words they use. You are on a beautiful journey to fluency, and you are doing an incredible job. I believe in you, and I will see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day. Keep smiling, and goodbye for now.